my sheet of side effects. This was printed out yesterday from the hospital because Cape Cod Hospital has received, I think they have the vaccine either tonight or tomorrow. So what they're talking is that the vaccine will be 95% effective after 7 days. So reactions after the first dose are obviously like any other vaccine, and I'm sure we've all been vaccinated. So pain at the injection site, redness and swelling, and then sometimes people will get like a joint arthralgia, kind of like a minor flu. But that's a lot like any side effect you get from any vaccine. Then they're talked about the list that would happen after the second dose, which would be a fever and fatigue, headache, myalgias, and the reactions are generally less severe with people over 55. I have to be in that group, so happy about that. So they're just the typical flu-like reactions. We all know that the people in the UK, there were 2 severe reactions. There were, in the study for the Pfizer vaccine, there were 6 deaths in the study, 2 in the vaccinated arm and 4 in the placebo arm. So that's very interesting. None of the deaths were related to the vaccine, but they had to report them. So no one has died from this vaccine. There have been like 2, I think it's documented 2 kind of what they would call major reactions, but nobody has passed away or died from it. So I think all in all, that says, if somebody injects you with saline, you might die of a heart attack. I don't know. I think that's what the takeaway message there. So I think it's very safe. I think it's the same type of reactions you'd see after getting your flu shot, pneumonia shot, shingles shot, tetanus shot, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the side effects? You can unmute and talk.
Yeah, feel free to just unmute and
I have a question.
Go for it.
With regards to the staff, are you requiring all the staff to get vaccinated?
No, the Commonwealth is not making it mandatory. So unlike the flu shot, which for the first time this year was mandated, but I can tell you we've polled staff already, and we have only 10% who are saying they're just not in a place where they will do it, which is a really good response. So we have every expectation that, if we're talking about the concept of even our own little herd immunity, we're going to get a good critical mass of people.
So will you be putting them under constraints or restraints of some kind with their interactions with patients if they've not got it? Because my understanding of the vaccine is it mitigates. It's not necessarily, well, like any vaccine, it doesn't guarantee anything. So it can be overwhelmed. Plus, the second question I have is, with the side effects, if you're giving all your staff the vaccine at the same time and they are ill, are you not risking having a large portion of them out sick for a couple of days? Absolutely. How are you going to handle that?
We absolutely are. It's a discussion of concern that's happening nationally right now because the way it's been set up, there's really no ability to stagger. That's not to say that once we are having individual conversations with CVS, it might not be possible to make that happen. But we're told that we should go forward with the reality that everybody's going to have to get done that same day. And if we have people out, we're going to have to find ways to work around that and work through it. The saving grace of that is that there are certainly people, as Dr. Weber said, who will have some reaction to it, but most are not reaction at that adverse stage that would prevent them from working, and perhaps just some symptoms of discomfort. To the question of what happens for staff that do not vaccinate, and will they somehow be limited in how they interact? Right now, there has been nothing specified as to how that should be handled. What I know is we're going to all be in PPE for the foreseeable future. So after the 2 stages or 2 rounds of vaccine, it's not going to be just return to business as usual. So I think landing there is what will continue to be the safety net.
I think those are excellent concerns, questions. In the past, up until this year, where everybody's been mandated to get the flu vaccine, if you worked for Cape Cod Healthcare, which I did for many years, you got a sticker on your ID. If you had the sticker, that's fine. If you didn't have the sticker, it was almost like the scarlet letter. You had to wear a mask. But since everybody's wearing a mask and gloves and PPE and goggles, I don't know how much. I don't think you could punish them by putting, I don't know, a shower cap on them. I don't mean punish. I meant I don't think. I don't know if there's any other than putting a spacesuit on. But in the past, that's exactly what happened. If somebody didn't get vaccinated, they were absolutely had to have a mask on. If you didn't have a mask on, you got terminated. And the other.
I have a question which deals with if you do not give consent, do all patients have to take it? And before I say that, I just want to compliment you on a great job you've done.
All right, thank you, Tom. No, actually, if you do not give consent, they won't give it to you.
Okay, that same question, Ann Fano here. A resident or a patient refuses to have the vaccination. What status does that put them in within the community? The inverse of the caregiver versus the patient resident.
That is a question that has not been answered, but it is on the open issue list for us all with DPH as to whether we can keep and should keep people segregated. I know that you all are not in and able to visit or even see some of us different now, but we've got wings of quarantine and that kind of thing. And the reality may well be that cohorting when you've got shared room situations may also be determined by somebody's vaccination status, so that an unvaccinated person is potentially in a different place. But we don't know that yet.
Thank you.
Hi there. I have a question for Dr. Weber. My name is Carol Donahue, and I really appreciate this communication. It's I agree, you guys have done a super job, and I'm newer to Liberty Commons. So that I was just wondering, is there anything that would disqualify a resident from getting the vaccine?
That's a great concern as well. No, as the short answer is no. It was nice before this, we had a meeting with the staff and they had great questions. Like for instance, I'm allergic to eggs. I'm allergic to peanuts.
To see my face and hear my voice.
Or I'm allergic to things. Is that gonna, so there's nothing in the vaccine that normal people would be allergic to. So say you had a deadly reaction to eggs. Well, this isn't an embryo. They stopped that a while ago, or they derived them from embryos. So eggs wouldn't happen. This is a thimerosal-free vaccine. I looked that up in the break. So the ingredients are quite simple. I think there's sugar in it. But no, I guess the short answer is there's no reason to, unless every vaccine you've ever gotten, you've had an anaphylactic reaction or close to it, then I would say no. but that's very rare, you know. There is an absolute contraindication. People that have gotten Guillain-Barré after a flu vaccine, that's a reason that might put my, that may put me at edge. That would be a good reason not to, maybe. But then again, this is a different type of vaccine, so.
How does the Pfizer vaccine relate to Moderna and the third one that's in the pipeline?
That's a great question. I think the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine are very similar. They're messenger RNA vaccines. I do not know about the other one. These are novel, within the last 10 years, say, approach to vaccine making, which is directed at getting a better response. So your body kicks out, antibodies that are specifically designed for this antigen coding on the cell.
I have a question. I'm Debbie Martin, and I too want to add my thanks for all your hard work, and you've kept them all so safe, and I am so appreciative. My question, though, has to do with once they get both shots, and I realize, Bill, that you had said life certainly won't go back to normal, but I'm wondering, I'm really concerned about my mom's mental health at this point. She told me today how depressed she was. And it is, they've been now in that building for, 8 months. So once they get both shots, will there be some advantage for them to be able to have some activities that are more normal?
That has not been said, but I can't imagine that won't be the case. So
Good.
it would seem that it certainly should.
Okay.
And we would advocate for that everywhere possible. There are a couple of good questions that have come up in the chat as well. One is around the consent form. It is not yet in our hands. What we're told is that we'll get a bunch of them in their carbonless forms and in their original format, and that we would use them at that point. But there is a prototype of it from CVS. If you go onto our website, click on that same link that had the information about the meeting, you can see the prototype consent form. You can't just print that off, sign it, and bring it because it's got a watermark on it that says it's not the final. But you can read what the consent form is probably going to say. It likely won't change in a material way. Also on that same spot of our website are the directions for how you can email us consent. If you're coming to visit and you want to bring it on paper, just do the same thing on a letter that basically says who your family member is, that you're giving consent as their surrogate decision maker in whatever capacity you exist as that for both doses of COVID vaccination. And if you're coming in person for some reason want to do that, you can just give it to us and that will work. And in fact, what I'll do tomorrow, if you're coming just to drop things off, we'll have some pre-printed of that, and you could fill it in and leave it with us. So we'll definitely do that as well. Another question that's on the chat is that if staff members have tested positive, can they still get the vaccine? And as I understand it, there is yes is the answer to that. They can, they should. There's certainly no harm.
So for the vaccine, for the people who have been positive, they're recommending that you're 14 days past your positive if you're going to get the vaccine. So if anyone is currently in that 14-day period, they would not really qualify to get it. But after that, they are recommending and saying it's okay to get.
Looking down in the future, are you going to require visitors? In the future, when there is more vaccine out there, will you require visitors to Liberty Common to also be vaccinated prior to being allowed in?
At present, that would not be permitted by regulation. So I can't say that we would. be able to do that. I think it would be certainly nice, but it may be many, many months before the vaccine is as available as
Sure.
that would require as well. Um,
Are you going to have to continue doing testing even though they've had the vaccine?
yes, the testing frequency
Yeah.
may be able to be decreased, but I don't see testing going away anytime too soon.
I have a question about when you actually give the vaccine to patients. So you talked a little bit about not giving all staff the vaccine at the same time because of potential side effects and staff being out. Do you have a similar concern that giving a large number of patients the vaccine at the same time, if they are all presenting with some of those symptoms, kind of like a little mini flu outbreak, if you would? Are you going to stagger how you're administering that vaccine to patients?
Again, that's a concern. We don't have the option to stagger because they're coming and doing it.
Okay.
Later, and this will again be maybe as we get into a new season or the ability as new people are admitted or move in and we're actually administering it, it's absolutely the way that one would probably do that, but it's not possible at this point.
I have mixed emotions. I'm very happy with the way things have been handled here, first of all. But I'm worried about an elderly patient who is getting weaker all the time and has an allergy to penicillin. Is he better off having the vaccine or just staying in the surroundings the way you're handling?
Eric, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I was reading on the vaccine. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. I have mixed emotions about an elderly patient who's getting weaker all the time and he has an allergy to penicillin. Is he better off getting the vaccine or is he better off just continuing as you've been doing because you've taken really good care of it?
So earlier with the staff, there was a question just like yours, because somebody had a severe peanut allergy, someone had a severe sulfur allergy, like Bactrim you take for a UTI. No one has ever had a cross reaction between a medication and a vaccine. I think probably because one's very synthetic and processed, and the other one is a natural protein, totally different. So in his case, a penicillin allergy would not be a contraindication. So I would probably promote that they get the vaccine because I don't think because if they did get it, I don't think it would be harmful to them, and it most likely would be helpful.
Would you be watching him especially if you know that he has an allergy?
To penicillin, it wouldn't be that would not be a contraindication. If he had allergies to multiple things, like that came up earlier, sometimes people come in with a list of things and every time they get a cough or a bladder infection or pneumonia or whatever it is, you really say, okay, we only have like three antibiotics we can give them. So you really do pay attention to people that have allergies. So yes, I think we're going to have a reporting system for side effects, and if somebody has an untoward reaction, they'll be watched.
Okay, thank you.
But everybody's concerned, so I hear you loud and clear.
I have a question.
I didn't see him.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
I tuned in late. I had some electronic difficulties. What about people who are in the rehab units who may or may not be released in the next day or so? Are they able to get the vaccine, or will you not have it this early?
We could have it as soon as next week, but we don't know the date until they tell us they're coming. So anybody who's there now for the first one, and if they've been discharged home before the second one, what I'm told is that they could come back, conceivably, on the date that we get for CVS to come in and do that second round. But again, that's only word of mouth at this point. If you are there for the first one, you're 50% protected after just the first one. So I would get it and at least start there personally. If it was, if it was my dad. A couple of additional chat questions. If the resident can sign for themselves, we'll get that form to them for that signature. So don't worry about that. And also a question about how CVS ensures that the vaccine is maintained at the required temperature. Those are all requirements that CVS had to put together to prove to the feds that they were up to the task. Exactly what it is or how it is that they're going to do that, I truly don't know. We were talking today that we're anticipating that when they bring it in, it'll be dry ice for sure. Also a question about cost and insurance. There's no cost for the vaccine itself to anyone receiving it. The CVS is able to bill insurance for the administration of it, which is why we're collecting insurance information. We have much of it, most of it, copies of cards and that kind of thing. But if you have cards that you would like to make sure we have that's beneficial, so please get those to us. Just take a picture of it and email it in, or you can drop it off if you're by. And if we already have it, it won't hurt. We've gone through all of our records and are kind of cross-referencing all of that, but there should be no charge or no bill to anyone for it, regardless of insurance.
So the vaccine has to be at room temperature in order to go into someone's arm. Otherwise, it would be kind of nasty. So I think it could be at room temperature for up to 3 days. Isn't that right, Dr. Weber?
I think you're right. I thought I heard 5 days. I'm a Google person. While she was asking about the cost, I think that's about $10 for an administration fee. So, but I can Google that one. I thought it was 5 days or close to 5 days. Bridget, what did you hear?
I think you're right. I think
I
it's
think
5.
it was 5 days too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, this might be a one of those stupid questions, but I'm asking it anyway because I'm a teacher and there are no stupid questions. So, is this vaccine a I realize it's 2 doses, but is it you get this and then you are good for the rest of your life, or is this something that's going to be an annual or biannual or every 5 years you have to get it? Or does anybody know that yet?
Well, we're thinking that's going to take more research before they can say that with certainty, that it might be like an annual flu vaccine where you need to get shots on a regular basis. Dr. Weber, you had talked about potentially the virus changing like the flu does too.
Yeah, I got an article from a friend about this, and there's like another strain already on the other side of the globe. And just like the flu vaccine, it's an H1, N1, H2, N2, and then any combination you can imagine. Those are the different proteins that they guess we're going to be exposed to in the flu vaccine. It's going to probably be a similar situation where if once we get the technology to manufacture the vaccine, they're probably going to have to tweak it. But who knows yet? I don't know.
Well, I appreciate, and I like to echo what other people have said, is that, you know, I really think there's a miracle going on in Chatham on both sides of Orleans Road. And I just say thank you so much for everything that you've done. We've been involved for over 4.5 years now, and I can't imagine a better place for my parents to have lived, and one died, but one's still around. And I brag on a daily basis to everyone who will listen to me down here in Virginia that, you know, up on Cape Cod, somebody, and a lot of somebodies, are doing something really, really well. So there's no way any of us could thank you. There's no amount of money or gift or fruit basket, but know that I hope I speak for everybody who's on this and more, that, you know, it's really a miracle. So thank you very much.
Those are very generous and kind words, and they truly mean a lot. And I'll speak for all of our staff in that regard. And you know, the miracles that are happening are those people that are there at the bedside doing that work every day, despite the fears and the unknowns. And I think as we're approaching this second surge, it's almost harder going into it knowing more now than we knew back in the spring, because it feels like there's so much more to try to be careful of. Our capacity to test, and as you all know, the frequency with which we're testing is sure to identify more positives than we may have known about before. So I would caution you that as you continue to hear those phone calls with my voice on the back end of them, that it is probable that we'll be talking about more positive test results among staff and even among patients and residents because of the spike that's going on in the community. We are very fortunate and blessed that our community is not one that has been a hot zone, as has been true in other parts of the state and even in other parts of the Cape. But it's a combination of things. It's everybody's attention to what they're trying to do and doing the right thing. But there are so many things that are not in our control that I don't want I don't want us to sound cocky about it, because what's gone well has gone well for more reasons than we have control over. This is like trying to fight a wildfire when you can't see the flames. There's another question in the chat that I don't want to leave altogether. And Dr. Weber, I might ask you to jump in with thoughts on it. Was this process was so quick? Should that concern us that something maybe was missed?
The process in creating the vaccine?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So I think as humans, that's our way. We're doubters. I mean, I think even people, I've talked to people that have medical knowledge, and I've talked to people that don't. Vaccines usually take a long time and trial and error. And this type of vaccine they have been doing these type of vaccines for a while. So it's quick. I think that comes out, I don't care who you are, that everybody has that same like, wow, this seems fast. Is it safe? So far, we know it's safe. But is it going to be effective? And I think time is going to tell if we get the herd immunity that we need. But it is rushed, and I think you shouldn't be conned or not conned, but you shouldn't be afraid to ask questions. If you have a question and a concern, they're all valid, I think, you know. I'm getting the vaccine, but that's because I don't want to get other people sick. I'm not afraid of my health, but I'm more afraid of, you know, getting the virus and passing it around. So.
Thank you. And to that end, there are a couple more related questions to things like that in the chat too. One is, you know, if a person is vaccinated will that enable them to go out and come back in without the kind of quarantine requirements? I don't think so, at least not immediately. That may drive the scope of what's required afterward, but the quarantine for people that have been out, I don't think is going to change in the short term. The period of time of quarantine potentially could also decrease, but again, the vaccine's not going to be a ticket to kind of just come and go as you please or wish. Will a vaccinated person have greater access to visitation? Again, that has not been indicated to us just yet, but it's possible. It would sort of make sense. But one thing I've also learned from doing this work is that the things that make sense don't always happen quickly or easily either.
We can wait for Charlie Baker to do the phase rollout on that.
And if somebody does have a reaction to the first shot, will we be notified, family? And is it possible to cancel the second one if that happens?
Yes to both questions, ma'am.
Thank you.
As a follow-up to that, Bill, is the consent separate for each shot?
I don't think so. I don't think so, but we'll need to make sure of that. It looks like on their form, you can check off both, and we've instructed people that are sending an email to say both. That would be hopeful. If there are any other questions, I'd ask you to just unmute, and I'm kind of watching that on the screen. Otherwise, I know Celeste and Nuri are both here, and I don't want to close without offering them the opportunity to perhaps interject with something I should have said and didn't remember, even though they probably told me to. So I'll open that door up as well, please.
I have one question, and probably it's a little soon. When all of your residents and staff are vaccinated, and there starts to be rollout for people with underlying conditions and then maybe the general, do you envisage that you might be able to provide a location that we who visit can come and get our vaccinations?
If we can, we will, absolutely. All right. It looks like everybody has stayed muted, which would suggest that there aren't any more questions. So I will thank you for your time, your support, and your consideration of this. Again, the place for you to get a look at that consent form is on our website. Go to COVID-19 resources, and you'll see a link to it up there. And we will also add to some of the info that's out there as we get it. The CDC put out a good document about consideration for residents in particular today, and we'll get that posted tomorrow as well. So thank you all so very much. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
One final thing I was
Thank
going
you
to
very
say.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was
you.
actually
Thank
you for all you do,
very
Bill. We truly
no,
appreciate it.
Very much, Phil.
Yeah.
Take great care of my mom.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Good job.
Good night.
Bill and Dr.
Good night.
Weber, thank you again.
Yes,
You're
thank you,
welcome.
Dr. Weber.
Thank you, staff.